It's now time for Trivia Tracks with yours truly, Price Robertson. This edition of Trivia Tracks is brought to you by
ProMed Ambulance Services. Care you can count on.
And Beth Smith at Edward Jones. Edward Jones, making sense of investing, member SIPC.
One of the foremost impressionists of his day, David Frye, that's Frye, became known for his imitations of everyone, from presidents such as Richard Nixon and Lyndon Johnson to media figures like Larry King and William F. Buckley. However, as eerily accurate and subtle as his impersonations were, the comedic narrative spoken by those depicted by Frye were outrageously apropos as well as politically savvy and accurate. He was born David Shapiro in Brooklyn on November 21st, 1933. His father didn't like the idea of his son going into show business, but even while attending college in Miami, David was already doing impressions in campus productions. After a stint in the Army, he returned to New York, and by the early 60s, he was a struggling impressionist when he slipped Robert F. Kennedy into his act. His career started to take off. Audiences loved his act, and David Frye, as he now came to be known, would add other notable figures to his repertoire. In 1969, he released his first album, I Am the President, skewering the newly installed President Nixon. The album's success spawned 3 follow-ups, Radio Free Nixon and Richard Nixon Superstar, both from 1971, and Richard Nixon A Fantasy in 1973. He found time for TV appearances as well, on shows such as Kraft Music Hall and the ABC Comedy Hour, which starred fellow impressionists Frank Gorshin, Joe Baker, Marilyn Michaels, George Kirby, Fred Travellina, and Rich Little, whose imitation of Nixon would probably rival that of David Frye. One of Frye's albums, the aforementioned Richard Nixon A Fantasy, which dealt with Nixon's Watergate troubles, developed marketing problems when local television in New York rejected commercials promoting the album, citing questions of taste. In addition, Woolworths decided not to stock the record because, in their words, some of our customers might be offended. Frye continued his act well after his heyday. His 1998 album, Clinton and Oral History, featured riffs on Bill Clinton, Al Gore, Pat Buchanan, and John McLaughlin, plus that of an older Nixon, complete with pauses and phrasing more typical of the ex-president as he sounded in the 1980s and 90s. David Frye died on January 24, 2011, of cardiopulmonary arrest at the age of 77.
Till next time, I'm Price Robertson. Amazed by today's trivia?
Then join me for Trivia Tracks weekdays at 6:45 on Everybody's Country Y95.